I want to start this story by taking you back to a case that has haunted the entire county for years. A missing person case from the 1980s, where a young woman named Jessica Miller disappeared without a trace. I first heard about Jessica's case when I was looking into unsolved cold cases. Her disappearance was ruled as a simple runaway, but many believe there was more to it. I began my research by reading old newspaper clippings and police reports. I found that Jessica had last been seen near an old mansion on the edge of town. This mansion had a reputation in local legends, and many said it was cursed. I thought that maybe, just maybe, her case could be linked to something deeper than a simple disappearance. With my interest piqued, I decided to dig further. I hoped to find clues that the police might have missed. Little did I know, this investigation would plunge me into a dark mystery that no one wanted to talk about. I started to look for more information about the mansion. I found several old photographs. One showed a large, imposing building with ivy covering the walls and broken windows that looked as if they had seen many dark days. There were even photos taken from the street, showing a light in one of the upper windows late at night. These details made me wonder if something had taken place inside. The more I learned, the more it felt that Jessica's case might be connected to this mansion. I knew I had to see it for myself and get closer to the truth. After gathering the old reports and photos, I turned to the internet for more clues. I found several forum posts by people who claimed they had seen strange things around the mansion. Many posts mentioned hearing footsteps, seeing shadows moving in the windows, and even catching a glimpse of a light when the mansion should have been dark. One post caught my eye. It described a person who had visited the mansion on a dare and found a red stain on the floor near the entrance. The post also mentioned a symbol carved into the wood of one of the doors. This was not just local gossip, it was a detailed account that matched some of the clues in the old records. These digital clues added up. They confirmed that the mansion was more than just an abandoned building. It seemed to be a place where something unusual was happening, something that might connect back to Jessica's disappearance. Digging further, I researched the history of the mansion. I found several newspaper clippings from the 1960s and 1970s. They reported that the mansion was once the meeting place for a secret group. This group met in secret and held rituals late at night. Their meetings were never fully explained, but the reports hinted at strange activities and even violence. One diary entry described a midnight gathering in a candlelit room. The entry was straightforward, detailing the positions of chairs in a circle and the use of a single black candle. It mentioned that one of the group members disappeared after that meeting and was never seen again. This history made the mansion even more disturbing. It wasn't just an old building. It was a place where people met to do things that had dark consequences. I started to see a connection. The secret meetings, the unexplained disappearances, and Jessica's case might all be pieces of the same puzzle. With all this evidence in hand, I decided it was time to visit the mansion. I planned my trip carefully. I noted the route on a map and packed a flashlight, a camera, and my notebook. I set my arrival for a night when the moon was full. I needed to see the mansion in its worst state. The drive was long and quiet. The road was rough and lined with dead trees. Every sound made me jump, and I kept thinking about the secrets that the mansion might be hiding. I reviewed my notes again and again, feeling the weight of the case on my shoulders. When I finally arrived at the mansion, it looked exactly as I had seen in the photos. Broken windows, crumbling walls, and an eerie silence that seemed to whisper secrets. I knew that stepping inside would bring me closer to both the truth about Jessica and the dark history of this place. I parked my car at the edge of the property and walked to the mansion's front door. The gate was rusted and creaked as I pushed it open. My heart was racing. I took a deep breath and pushed the door. It swung open with a loud creak, as if warning me to turn back. The air was thick with dust and the smell of decay. I shone my flashlight down a long, dark hallway. The walls were covered in old, peeling paint, and I could see marks on the wood that looked like scratches or carvings. I made a mental note of a red stain near the door, a detail that matched the online post I had read. Every step I took echoed in the silence. I knew that Jessica had been seen near this place, and now I was here, standing in the heart of its dark past. I pressed on, determined to uncover what had happened in this house. As I walked through the mansion, every room told its own story. The hallways were lined with old portraits whose eyes seemed to watch me. In one room, I found a broken mirror on the floor. Near it was a torn piece of fabric and a small, dark stain, evidence that something violent might have happened here. I turned into another corridor and noticed symbols carved into the wooden walls. They were simple, almost like someone had scratched them in anger or fear. I remembered the online post about a strange symbol near the door. The same shape was here, repeated several times along the hallway. I took my time, recording everything on my camera and in my notebook. I wanted to document every detail so I could later connect them with the old reports and documents I had found online. Each step I took made it clear that this mansion held more secrets than I had imagined. Deep inside the mansion, I discovered a small study. The room was small and filled with dust. A heavy wooden desk sat in the center, piled high with old journals, letters, and loose papers. I switched on my camera's light to take a closer look. I picked up one of the journals. The pages were yellowed with age. The entry described a meeting held at midnight. It listed the names of several people and noted a specific time. There was also a crude drawing of a circle with symbols around it. The entry ended with a note that one member had disappeared without a trace. Beside the journals, I found a torn piece of fabric with a symbol that matched the ones I had seen in the hallways. In the study, I spent a long time going through the documents. I compared the names and dates in the ledger with the old police files and newspaper clippings I had gathered. One name kept coming up: Jessica Miller. The ledger mentioned that she had attended a meeting on the night she disappeared. It was a brief note, but it tied her directly to this mansion. I also found a police report that talked about an unexplained disturbance on the night of Jessica's disappearance. The report mentioned that a witness saw a light in one of the upper windows of the mansion. This matched another photo I had found online. Every piece of evidence I uncovered was slowly connecting the dots between Jessica's case and the events recorded in this hidden archive. I could feel the weight of the past in every crack in the wall and every faded mark on the floor. As the night wore on, I felt a change in the air. The mansion grew colder, and the silence became almost heavy. I could hear the wind outside and the creaking of the old building as it settled into the darkness. I checked my camera and recorder, making sure everything was working, because I knew that something was about to happen. In one of the corridors, I heard a soft sound that was not my own footsteps. It was a faint whisper, almost like a call. I couldn't make out the words, but it sent a chill down my spine. I felt like I was being pulled deeper into the mansion's secrets. I tightened my grip on my flashlight and continued on, driven by the need to find the truth behind Jessica's disappearance and the strange history of this place. I noticed something that made my heart race. A door was slightly ajar, and from behind it came a cold draft. I stepped closer, shining my flashlight into the room. The light revealed nothing but darkness and dust. But then I saw it. A shadow moving quickly across the wall, too fast to be just a trick of the light. I stopped and listened. There were no sounds of movement except my own breathing. The silence was loud, and I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears. It was as if the mansion was trying to tell me that I was not alone. I recorded the moment on my camera and took several close-up photos of the door and the area around it. This was real, tangible evidence that the mansion still held something from the past, something that did not belong there. I took a deep breath and forced myself to move on, knowing that every moment here was a step closer to uncovering what had happened to Jessica. At exactly midnight, I reached the grand hall. The room was vast and empty, yet something was wrong. In the center of the hall, a circle of old chairs sat around a pedestal. Faded markings on the floor formed a rough circle, and on the pedestal, a single candle flickered as if it had just been lit. I sat down, trying to steady my nerves, and reviewed my notes. But then, the air changed. Out of the darkness, I began to see shapes, ghostly figures that moved slowly in a circle. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. These weren't just shadows or tricks of the light. They were real, moving as if they were reenacting a ritual recorded in the journals. My heart pounded in my chest as I watched them. One of them was of a woman I could swear looked like Jessica Miller in the old photos. At that moment, something inside me snapped. I felt a surge of terror so strong it almost paralyzed me. I started to back away, my hands shaking as I fumbled for my camera. The ghostly figures grew clearer, their expressions blank, yet filled with an ancient, terrible sorrow. The candle's flame danced wildly, casting grotesque, shifting shadows on the walls. I tried to call out, but no sound came. I was frozen by the sight of something utterly unnatural, something that defied everything I thought I knew about this world. I don't remember much after that. My mind went blank for a moment, and then I felt like I was falling into a deep, endless darkness. I remember running out of the grand hall, my legs moving on their own as panic took over. I could hear my own heart beating, like a drum in my ears, and the whispers of the unseen figures echoed all around me. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that circle of chairs, that lone candle, and those ghostly figures chanting silently. The images raced through my mind, so fast and so intense, I struggled to keep them straight. I felt as if the mansion was alive, pulling me into a vortex of memories and terror. I couldn't tell what was real and what was in my mind. Every step I took was filled with a desperate need to escape, but the halls seemed to twist and stretch into an endless maze. I managed to get outside, gasping for fresh air as the cold night wrapped around me like a shroud. I sat on the steps of the mansion, shaking uncontrollably, trying to piece together what I had just witnessed. I am still not sure if I am entirely sane after that night. The evidence I collected, the photos, the recordings, are all there, but they are blurred by my own terror. The experience has left me with more questions than answers. I barely hold myself together as I tell this story. I only hope that by sharing this, you will understand that some truths are too horrifying to face, and that sometimes the search for answers can lead to a descent into madness.